So I'm super excited. I'm gonna let Devon introduce himself a little bit and talk a little bit about sort of how this session came to be, because Devon had talked a little bit about you being a part of this. I think even doing some stuff with us, even when you were back with us at Evolution, and I was like, I'd love to have you do some stuff. And you're a part of Stila. Stila's our good friend, and Sarah Lucero and Desiree. And so I was excited about doing something together. And then we came across summer school, and we could have done anything with you. You're such an incredible artist. What was it that made you decide that you thought a focus on eyes was the topic that you really wanted to talk about today?
Well, it kind of started because that's really what was getting me through the first bit of quarantine, whenever I think I probably wasn't alone in going crazy and not knowing what to do, and this thing that's been paying my bills and keeping me social and giving me a reason to wake up in the morning, whether it was actually applying the makeup or planning the makeup or, whatever it may be. I kind of found myself in a rut and didn't know what to do. I was feeling stir crazy. I was talking to my good friend Diana Shelton, who's another amazing makeup artist who I love dearly, and she always keeps it very, very real with me. And I was talking about how frustrated I was, and she said, "Bitch, you have a face." And I was like, "Oh, that's true. I guess sometimes I forget that makeup is work for me, and although it's like the most fun work in the entire world, like sometimes I forget, like, oh yeah, I do have a face just for the outlet of creativity. It doesn't have to be to prep things for a client. It doesn't have to be to manipulate a new product and see how it works and layers and the kind of analytical aspect of makeup. I can do it just for fun." And she somehow like gave me permission to be a makeup artist during quarantine. And I love my eyes. My eyes are the thing that I really like playing up. I kind of like to focus more on that, and it's a little bit easier for me to photograph as well. And so I just started playing around with it. And then, this really wonderful guy, Michael DeVellis, noticed and was like, "Oh, that would go perfectly." And I was like, "I think it would, yeah." You're muted, no one can hear you.
I try to be so good, right? I mute myself so that I don't like interrupt you. It's like, I know my husband wishes that he could do that. Just so, for those of you who don't follow Devon on his Instagram, which you all should, at Devon Freeman, I just gonna see if I can bring this up a little closer. I'm gonna go on speaker view so I can see if I'm getting this in the camera shot right. So you can see this is some of the stuff Devon had done. And you can pull it up on your own phone if you're not on phone on your Zoom, to Devon Freeman. And when I saw this stuff, I was like, whoa, that's amazing. And so when he said, what if I did some eye stuff? I said, sounds like a pretty solid idea. One of the things I thought was sort of interesting too, and I had a conversation with Devon about this after another conversation. We were talking about the fact that, we are going to be living in a mask world. Like, we're going to be living in masks for quite some time. And ironically, the part of the face that shows when you're wearing a mask is the eyes. So instead of being in this mentality that I think we've all gotten into, like, I haven't had makeup on for 3 months. I haven't had to do my hair for 3 months. I'm wearing the same pair of shorts underneath my black t-shirt as I had been for the last 3 months. But the eyes are something you can start to really work with and play with and have some fun with, because that is going to be that expression. Anybody who went to Catholic school or private school and they had a uniform, they knew the one thing they could wear was socks. They could wear whatever socks they wanted, right? And so I had friends at St. Joseph's and Trumbull and Fairfield, and they would wear really kooky socks because they had to wear the same uniform, but they had freedom in their socks. And I thought to myself, how weird to make that comparison, but think about it. You can be creative with your mask, right? You can do a really cool mask. You can do a more like medical grade mask, but then you've always still got this eye area showing and those brows, and even under goggles or under a shield, you're really able to start to really become a little more creative. So what I loved about the session, when you said what I want to do is this, and I'll let you explain what you're going to do, is that it makes sense because we've got a great audience of pros with us today. We've got over 100 people joining us, and we have people who are in bridal, we have people in TV and film, we have people in editorial, we have people in commercial and catalog work. And the one commonality is that they're all sort of waiting to see what's going to be next, right? And so to your point, sometimes we need permission to play and just do makeup for fun. And I'm so proud of you for having given it. Inspired me, and that's why I reached out to you again and said, this looks amazing, let's play with this. But I think that for this session, what's really nice is we all get in this thing, right? You've got your commercial eye look that you do, but what you're doing is you're saying, yeah, you can do a smoky eye, but what else are you going to do? How are you going to make it interesting? And I think that's really special. So I don't want to give all that away, but can you share with us a little bit more before you jump into your presentation piece? Because I want to make sure I can let as many folks in on this waiting room piece as I can. Can you talk a little bit about that in theory, like the idea of taking something that you are really good at already and then doing something interesting to it?
Yeah, so we all kind of get in ruts. I think that we all, you know, whether we mean to or not, I think it's very, very human whenever we create a look and it's like, oh, that looks great. We kind of put that in our reserve. We put that in our mental bank of, this is a look that I like, so it needs to stick around. I need to do it again. It's just like cooking dinner. It's like, God, that chicken piccata was so good. We're going to do that once a week for the next 3 months. And then it, you know, by the time that the end of that 3 months comes, you're so sick of chicken piccata because you've done it so many times. Doesn't mean it's not delicious. Doesn't mean it's not great. Doesn't mean that there's not technical finesse that goes into creating that. But it's very human to just kind of get stuck in those ruts. And instead of focusing solely on, this is how, you know, to create an editorial eye, this is how you create, you know, an everyday basic eye, I wanted to kind of take it beyond that. I tend to overanalyze everything, and makeup is no exception to that. And I want to break it down more to the theory. How do you get to the point where you can be creative? How do you get past that point where, you know, you have the energy all of a sudden, you know, you wake up on those days and it's the right side of the bed and you're like, I feel good. I'm going to get so much accomplished today. I'm going to be creative. I'm going to plan out some looks. I'm going to create some mood boards. And then you're like, okay, shit, how do I get inspired? Where's my creativity? And it gets so difficult. And sometimes those are the times whenever you have the most energy to be inspired, those are the times that inspiration decides not to show up. But then at 3 o'clock in the morning, whenever you're trying to force yourself to go to sleep, you're like, oh shit, I have a great idea. So it always kind of works out that way. So today what I want to talk about is a little bit of how you can kind of codify and how you can create a system to find creativity by finding that thought process that leads to creativity to begin with, so that you're not just sitting waiting for inspiration to smack you in the face. You kind of have a roadmap on how to find creativity.
That's amazing. And I think that, again, you're right about the rut thing. And I think that as there's people in this session who are just starting out, been a makeup artist for a few months or a few years. And there's people in this session who've been doing makeup for 10, 15, 20 years. And I think that whether we get comfortable and safe because we like the way something works together and we just will keep going with it because we know it works, it doesn't matter if it's 20 years in or 20 months in, it just does become a little bit of that mundane, what makes you special and unique and different as an artist. So I'm excited. So I'm going to suggest that we jump into your presentation. And I'm going to let Kenya know that everyone who messages and says, I'm in the waiting room and can't get in, that we'll be letting them in right after that. So awesome. So I'm gonna make you a host, my friend. Don't forget to make me one back. There we go. Awesome.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So I am, for those of you that don't know that that I haven't talked to or we haven't got to know each other quite yet, just a little bit of background about me so that this will make a little bit more sense as to why I created a PowerPoint and kind of want to go through everything. I am currently the Global Education and Events Manager for Stila Cosmetics, working not only in you know, runway and editorial and bridal and special events and commercial and all those aspects. My main bread and butter 40 hours a week has been working with brands for the past decade. And so my job as an educator with the brand is really to kind of break down things and do what we're talking about today. However, this is a brand new program that I have never done before. This is something that is exclusively for the Powder Group, exclusively for the summer school session. So I'm very, very excited to share everything with you guys today. Okay. One second. Here we go. And can we see that? Give me a thumbs up if we can see it. Everything's working right. Perfecto. Also, I'm going to be going through this and I'm going to be asking questions and stuff. So feel free to ask questions in the chat because I do have that up. And Michael also has graciously said he will kind of field some questions for me too as well. So if you have any questions about anything, please jump in, throw the question out there. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I want this to be free flowing. I'm not, you know, one of those people that gets weird if you like interrupt with a question. Please ask. I want to make sure that what I'm saying is clear to everybody. So why I focused on eyes. We kind of already talked about this a little bit, but as Michael said, we are in the middle of a pandemic, maybe at the beginning of a pandemic, who knows? We are in a pandemic right now, and masks are going to be the way of the future. It should be the way that we are doing everything right now. Hashtag wear a damn mask. And also, like I said, sometimes we get stuck in a creative rut. There's the saying that an object at rest tends to stay at rest. And honestly, your brain, that creative muscle, your creativity, it is no exception. If you aren't using it, you will get stuck, period. Next is going to be flexibility. There is so much flexibility whenever you think about what an eye looks like in the framework of a traditional makeup. You know, whenever you start getting into editorial and special effects and all of that, obviously the range of what you can do really, really widens. But if you just think solely in the terms of a traditional makeup, you have so much flexibility with the eyes. You don't have that kind of flexibility with skin usually. You don't have that kind of flexibility with a lip. If you go to a bride and you say, like, I'm thinking of doing a winged lip, what do you think? She's gonna think that you're insane. Like, that's not something that you can do. So you just have more of a range to be creative with the eyes. It's the most fun feature in my opinion. Next is autopilot. Like I talked about, it's that chicken piccata eye. Like you get on autopilot, and not to throw any artists or brands under the bus, but you get into that bone taupe mahogany. I know it looks good. I know it's gonna work. It's basic, but it's the standard. Is it gonna look good? Sure. Is it going to be remarkable? Probably not, unless you take it a step further, which is what we're gonna talk about today. And the last is product availability. There are so many products available for eyes. Yes, there's a plethora of things you can do for the face. You have some things for lips. You know, you have your lip liner, you have your lipstick, you have lip gloss, maybe even glitter if you're working for Pat McGrath, you know, pop that on there. But at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do to jazz up that lip. But with the eyes, you have primers and cream bases and lid color and crease color and a million different kinds of liners, mascara, false lashes. Like the options are endless, literally endless. If you can dream it, you can make it happen with eyes because there are so many products available for that. So that's why we're doing it. Now, to talk about what this is going to be today, it's going to be inspirational, hopefully. At the end of this, if anyone has been inspired, then I feel like I've done my job. But I don't want this to be a situation where we are, you know, just going over the basics and you're bored because, you know, Devon talked about things that I already know. I got nothing. So hopefully what I say will be inspiring to someone. I also want it to be a roadmap. I want it to be a roadmap for you to find your own creativity, not for you to recreate what I'm doing. As flattering as it would be if somebody recreated the looks that I do today, that's not really what I want. What I would love to see is if you're posting your looks on Instagram, you know, you do hashtag We Are The Powder Group, hashtag A Focus on Eyes, and you post the image of your eye, and in the caption, you know, you put, this is what inspired me. This is how I got to this point. So it's more about the mental process and that creating a roadmap to creativity for you. What this is not going to be is a step-by-step on how to do a smoky eye or how to apply lashes. If you are watching this, if you are part of the powder group, I assume that you already know these basic things. And if you do not, there is an amazing course called Makeup 101, which will teach you everything you need to know about it. That is not what this is. So today I'm going to be doing two different looks because I have two eyes and that is as much as I can do. And I think that that's all the time we'll have unless Michael wanted to give me the whole day. So the first I'm going to do is an everyday eye. And whenever I'm talking about an everyday eye, I'm talking about just that basic, you're putting a little bit of color in the crease, you're, enhancing the natural eye shape of a person that goes into commercial or your production work or whatever it is that may not necessarily give you the most range or the most freedom to express your creative muscles. How do you add something special to a basic eye look? You don't just want to do bone taupe mahogany. You want to stay within the parameters of what's acceptable for film and television or for your bride, but how do you add that something special to it? One way you can do that is working with structure. You can work with the structure of the eye, work with the structure of the face. And whenever I talk about structure, what that means is you're working with the bone structure of someone. You're working with their anatomy. That is something that is going to not change on them if they're an adult, but it is something that's going to change person to person. It's something that's going to be unique, and that is a way for you to bring out the individuality of the client that you are working on. Next is going to be shape. Shape is more about product placement without regard to the bone structure or the anatomy of your client. Me, I have downturned eyes. The outer corner of my eye is actually a little bit lower than the inner corner of my eye. So whenever I work, I don't focus so much on the structure of my eye. I focus more on the shape that I am creating with the product. Next is color. Color is like the thing that gets me the most excited. I love color. I love color theory. It's kind of the building blocks of everything that we do. And also, I think that it's where science and art meet. So the nerd in me and the artist in me get really, really excited about color and color theory. If you need a refresher, if you don't feel super comfortable speaking the language of color fluently, be back here next time or next week, this same time. Bethany Towns is doing a summer school session on color theory that I highly recommend everybody watch. And then the last is going to be texture. I'm going to be honest. My gay ass loves this one the most because glitter makes me happier than just about anything else in the world. Growing up, every Sunday, my grandma would wear these dresses or these outfits to church that were just covered in sequins or that were bedazzled. I mean, we're from Arkansas, so it's acceptable. And so I grew up loving shiny, sparkly things. And texture is one of the quickest, easiest, and most impactful ways to really, really jazz up a basic eye. So that's one eye I'm going to do. The other eye is going to be more of an inspirational, and we're going to take a journey together, and I'm going to create something. I honestly don't know what it's going to be at this point, but we will go on that trip together. So where do you look if you are trying to find that creativity, if you're trying to find inspiration to create a look? First is going to be personal interest. I don't think that there are very many rules in makeup, but I do have one hard and fast rule. If you are going to be doing a makeup, it needs to be personal. It needs to either be personal to you or it needs to be personal to your client. That's how you are going to make it remarkable. That's how you're going to make it impactful, is by finding that thing that really, really brings out the individuality of the client that you're working on, or that allows your individuality as an artist to really, really shine through by connecting with the makeup that you are doing. Ansel Adams, the famous landscape photographer, he has a quote that has stuck with me ever since I read it years ago. He says that there is nothing as useless as a sharp image of a fuzzy concept. And I think that applies to art in general, not just photography, but to makeup, to watercolor. You can create something that technically looks good. The lines may be there, the symmetry may be there, but is it impactful? Is it remarkable? Is there a concept that you were able to bring to life? If not, then what you're gonna have is a crisp image of a fuzzy concept. Next is gonna be time. Time is a really, really great resource to look for inspiration. It could be a time in your life that you felt happy. It could be a time in your life where you felt like shit. You were going through it. That's often where a lot of the best art really comes through, is finding your pain and really processing that through art, through your artistic endeavors. It could also mean a time period in history. Last week, Ula Godin did a really, really great summer school session on period makeup that I watched. And I mean, I was so inspired by that alone. And she did the 1920s and 50s. So, I mean, you can pick different times, whether it's personal or throughout history, to really, really draw inspiration and kind of go from there. Now, there's also somewhere that I personally, again, this is just an opinion, and I don't think that it's true 100% of the time, but I do think that one place not to look for inspiration is going to be other people's makeup. And the reason for that, it gets so tricky whenever you're creating something and you can't remember where you saw it or who did it, and then you start questioning, am I being inspired, or am I just duplicating something that I saw? There was one time that I did a photo shoot with this. It was this great, beautiful, fun time. And basically, the main aspect of the makeup was I had this beautiful cobalt blue hollow circle around the model's eye. The images came out, and then less than 24 hours, another artist in Dallas came out with the exact same images almost. And now I'm not saying that I think that she copied me. I don't think that in any realm. But I do think that maybe we saw something and were inspired by it at the same time. And we essentially just came up with the same look. And so I don't ever use those images. Even though it was super fun, the images were great. The makeup was the same. And I feel like we may have looked at the same thing for inspiration. So that brings me to the next point, which is go beyond face value. If you are taking an object or a subject as your inspiration, and you only look at it at face value, chances are those most apparent aspects that you're pulling inspiration from, it's probably already been turned into a makeup look. It's probably already been done ad nauseum because makeup has been around for thousands of years. Also, even if it hasn't been done, if another artist looks at that and also does a makeup based on just the most apparent aspects, chances are they would come up with the exact same makeup look as well, which means that there isn't so much creativity involved in that. There's nothing personal in there. So I want to do a little, sorry, I'm looking through the group chat to see if there are any questions that I didn't see. Okay, this is where the chat function is going to become very important because I want you all to answer questions that I'm about to ask. So we're gonna do a little exercise on creating a concept and going beyond face value. However, what I want you to do is I want you to first talk about the most apparent aspects, just list them single or two words in the chat. What are the most apparent aspects? What are the immediate face value components of sunflowers? What do we see whenever we look at a sunflower? What is just that face value basic thing? Yellow, golden. There's some texture in there. It's bright. There's the sun. I'm seeing a lot of yellow. Exactly. Color is going to be one of the quickest ways that we can pull inspiration for something, but also it can be a trap. It can very, very easily be a trap. And the reason for that is if I was to take the most basic aspect that I've seen most of this is yellow and I've seen some green in there. If I take that and I say, okay, so for this eye, I'm going to take a little bit of yellow eyeshadow, little yellow pigment, going to buff that out softly on the eye. I'm going to do some dark brown eyeliner on there, throw on some lashes, bam. And I tell someone, oh, look at this makeup I did. It was inspired by a sunflower. They would say, oh, yeah, obviously. Whenever you're pulling inspiration, whenever you're trying to find that personal creativity within yourself, if a stranger is able to look at your makeup and says, oh, obviously, unless it's character makeup, that's not necessarily a good thing. So let's go a little bit beyond face value. What do we see beyond the colors, beyond the boldness of it? I've seen some texture. What are some like about a sunflower? Yeah, so there are interesting shapes. There's some diamond patterning there. There's that texture, Fibonacci sequence. Of course, Jackie would say Fibonacci sequence. Yes, 100%. There's depth in it. Standing tall, Kit, yes, that is great. So let's take that even beyond just the sunflower standing tall. Why is it able to stand tall? Well, because it has roots. It has a root structure underneath. So not only do you see everything above ground from the sunflower, but you have all of these roots underneath that are holding on to it. So yes, Suzanne and Ambrine, strength, there's that growth coming from it, those thick stalks that are able to hold up. So if I'm creating this, instead of doing like a yellow smoky eye, what I would probably do, I would think about that root system. I would think about how it's tall and standing up, and I would probably do a thick, almost like a James Vincent liner underneath the eye in a deep brown so that it mimics that deep soil color. All this texture, this little diamond pattern, these fragments that are on the inside of the sunflower, I'm really, really drawn to that. I'm drawn to texture. So I might do a fragmented or segment or pointillism liner up top and kind of wing that out in the shape of a petal. So there's so many different ways that you can go. If I was to do that, if I was to draw that underneath and do a pointillism winged liner and show somebody and say, look at this, what do you think it was inspired by? They'd probably say, I have no idea. But if I explain the concept, oh, well, I went with the sunflower because of this, then they'd get it. But immediately people don't look at it and say, oh, sunflower, because we're not doing a sunflower character makeup. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes? Okay, awesomeness. Okay, so for today's inspiration, I was talking with Michael yesterday whenever we were doing our run through and kind of decided, because I had to be prepared, I decided what the inspiration for the look I'm going to do today is. So I wanted to think about what is bringing us all together, what's bringing us all onto this summer school session together today, and that is makeup artistry as a profession. I know I said the pitfall earlier is looking at makeup as inspiration, but I'm not talking about someone's makeup application. I'm thinking more about makeup artistry as a profession, as a job. So I'm going to take one of those concepts, time. I am going to look at different times to give me inspiration. Let's talk about today. Well, like we discussed earlier, we're in a pandemic. We are trying to figure out how to make our eyes jazz up a little bit more. Also, I am a makeup artist that does side work, but that also works for a brand and works in education. So I look at the last few years in my education role. Usually what I'm doing is not fun creative makeup, not the fun powder group summer school stuff that we get to do, but I'm looking at product spec sheets. I'm looking at clinical research studies and what is the standard deviation for, maxi lip plumping the lips over 40%. How is that going to translate to sales in Denver versus New York? Like, that's my job. And the nerd part of me absolutely loves that. I love working with numbers. I love looking at sales. I'm super duper into that. But there's also this big artistry part of me that just sometimes wants to be like, can I please just smear some blue shit on somebody's face, please? I love these research studies, but like, I need to play with makeup. We can even take it back a little bit further. Whenever I was an adolescent, I've always loved art. I've always loved color. I've always been drawn to things that are, ostentatious and kind of over the top and a little bit weird and whimsical. And so whenever I was younger, though, I didn't want to be a makeup artist. I wanted to be a different kind of artist. I wanted to be an architect. And the reason that I wanted to be an architect is because of a certain architect named Antoni Gaudi, who has work all over Barcelona, some of the most incredible buildings still to this day, breathtaking. I get so excited whenever I see his work. But I did find out whenever I was in middle school how much advanced math went into being an architect, and I quickly no longer wanted to be an architect. But I did love makeup. I did love playing with makeup, and I was very, very lucky, very, very fortunate to have a mother that encouraged me to wear makeup, to play with makeup, to be whatever and whoever I wanted to be. And so I was like, I'm kind of good at this. I think I might be able to get better at this. So I'll go into makeup artistry. That's what I want to do. But before that, there was architecture, and there was Antoni Gaudi. And Antoni Gaudi, the reason that his stuff is so breathtaking, not only to me, but to people all over the world, is because he has certain principles about how architecture should be and about the world around them. And the one that I am most drawn to, the one that made me so excited, was this idea of organic lines, the idea that there is no such thing as a perfect circle or perfectly straight line in nature. And so that's kind of where I'm going to be drawing from today, is Antoni Gaudi's work and his organic line principle of architecture. So I'm going to create an eye based on that. That's going to be my second eye, basic eye, and then Antoni Gaudi architecture eye. So just to kind of give you a visual as to, if you're not familiar with Antoni Gaudi's work, to give you a couple of visuals on as to where I'm going and where I'm drawing my inspiration, because we are in a visual field, these are some of the images of Antoni Gaudi's work. So this is Park Güell, which I am absolutely obsessed with, not only because of the organic lines, but all of the different mosaic textured tiling in various beautiful colors. I just absolutely love it. And then this is the underside of that picture that we just saw. So you can really see where the organic lines come in. You can see that it has all of these swirls, these columns that aren't completely straight. Even the swirls are not the same, truly organic. Next, Sagrada Familia. Absolutely love this. It's basically my version of the Disney castle. It's what I love because it's like Tim Burton created the Disney castle. So I'm super into that. This is closer. You can see that it almost looks like it's melting. Like I just absolutely love this idea of these, it's, you know, it's concrete, but it's dripping. Like the effect is just amazing. So not only is it architecture, it's sculpture. Then there's also Casabatio, which I love because just, I mean, it looks like the multicolored LSD driven bottom of an upside down pineapple cake, and I love it. And then there's also Casamila, which I love because it has these beautiful wrought iron, organic. It almost looks like you threw some mercury into a pool of water and it just splashed out, and that's how the metal fused. Like, I love it. And so that's kind of my inspiration for today. So, hold on one second. Oh, good Lord. Michael, I am going to make you the host again, and you can let all of these people in the way.
You know, I'm not really big on control.
Oh, no, not at all.
That was good. There weren't too many. That's not too bad. We didn't have too many weddings. Good. First of all, I just want to thank you for that because I'm sitting here going, like, taking notes as Devon's talking, and I'm going like, wait, I'm not a makeup artist. But it's literally, number one, Gaudi. I mean, amazing. But also, I feel like some of the best comments that we've had come through the chat are about process and about that, you know, coming up with something in a unique way, and how you've already inspired them in such amazing ways. So I can't wait for you to do some makeup and give them a little bit more love. So thank you for that. That was awesome.
Yes, of course. Okay, so again, I kind of have a rough idea on what my inspiration is, but I actually don't know what I'm going to be doing today. So we are going to go on this journey together, and dear God, I hope it turns out good. So in order to go with the basic natural eye that we're going to kind of jazz up, I'm going to start off by just doing that basic eye that I talked about. So let me grab my brushes. So whenever I'm doing an eye, I don't really believe in, and again, people might yell at me, you can hate me for this, it's fine. I don't really believe in primers. I'm not a big primer person for the face or the eyes or the lips. I feel like as long as the skincare is there, there's not really much of a need to prime. But for the eyes, I really do like to start off with kind of like a cream base. Mainly because I have so much redness in my skin that I like to just dampen that down a little bit. So I am first going to start off by just doing a nude. So it's just a little nude cream shadow. It's the suede shade from Stila, but honestly, any like not longwear cream nude product, as long as it blends into the skin, is going to be good. Now that I'm doing this, let me get my little, my mirror here so that I can see what I am doing. Okay, can everybody still see me? Is the mirror in the way? We're good? Okay, perfect. So I like to start off with just that. Can't really tell that anything is there. I don't want to be able to tell that anything is there. I'm just evening out the skin. After that, I like to take a little bit of just invisible setting powder, and I like to apply just a powder on there so that any shadows that I'm putting on top of it are going to blend out nice and easy. It's not going to get patchy. It's not going to tug onto that cream product that I put down. So I am going to go in, and this is something I'm going to be using quite a bit today. For your basics, I have the Cinema Secrets. It is the #1 Natural Collection palette. It's just like the quickest, easiest. It contains everything you need to structure a basic eye. So this is like my go-to whenever I'm working on people and trying to kind of carve out a natural shape. So I'm just gonna go in build a little bit of structure, nothing super fancy. Are there any questions, Michael, that anybody has? I always feel weird whenever it's like silent. People are just watching me put on taupe eyeshadow on my eye.
Not at this point. No
Okay.
questions, just some praise.
Okay. Oh yeah, I like that. Also, a couple of things since we are talking about this. I do want to bring in a couple of things that are super basic, but maybe people have never thought about, or maybe it's something that people have just forgotten because I find myself forgetting stuff all the time. Um, but two things, whenever you are working with building structure on the eye, one thing that drives me insane whenever I'm working with artists is whenever people take their brush and they instantly go into the actual crease of the eye. So if everybody looks, my crease, let me grab a smaller something. My crease is all the way down here. If I put color in my crease, it is not going to show up. I did not shape my eye. I just put eyeshadow in an area that is by definition going to crease on itself, and you will not see that color. What you need to be working with is the bone structure, the occipital bone, your orbital bone. That's all the way up here, and that is what is going to really make my eye stand out, or your client's eyes stand out. Another thing is whenever people are blending, I see a lot of times that people will take their brush and they start doing this motion right here to blend. One comment I always get when I'm working with the clients is they say, "Oh, you're so gentle." You should be. You should be gentle and you should be pampering your client. Notice that the handle and the ferrule of my brush, whenever I'm doing this digging blending motion, the ferrule is moving more than the bristles are. The point of those bristles is staying in the exact same spot. So if you find that your eyeshadows or whatever product you're putting on just isn't quite blending as well, or it doesn't have that extremely polished look to it, think about how you're blending. You shouldn't be pressing down and moving the bristles like that. They need to be softly kissing so that just the very, very tips of your brushes or tips of your bristles are what is blending out that product. That's how you're going to get the right shape from your brush, because they are shaped certain ways for a reason, and that's how you get that. It also ensures that you're not going to get a patchy application because you're not digging extra product into one single area. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Okay, so bam. For a basic eye, I would go in and I would add a little bit of mascara, maybe a little bit of eyeliner, depending on what the situation is. But here, we can see that there's a difference, but it's not overwhelming. It's not a big, huge difference that we're seeing, not super noticeable. So let's talk about how we can jazz this up. The four things that we talked about being able to jazz it up is working with structure, working with shape, working with color, or working with texture. Now today, the end result of this may be a little bit overboard for what we would do on a client, but I want to take you all through the process of doing each of those four things. Now with a client, you would probably choose one, maybe two things that you would want to use to jazz up basic eye, but in the interest of education, we're gonna do it all today. So the first is working with structure. If I wanna add a little extra structure to my eye, I am going to look at the natural bone structure, the natural anatomy of it. And for me, whenever I'm looking, I'm gonna work with this inner area right here because I wanna make it look a little bit more strong. So I'm going to take the same color that I put in the bridge of my eye, and I'm going to pull it in further, and then I'm gonna brush it up into the brow. I'm gonna leave the very inner corner nice and light, but all of a sudden, I've made this look a little bit more strong. It makes it look a little bit more sturdy, a little less whimsical, a little less feminine. Not that there's anything wrong with doing a feminine eye. We are about to feminize the hell out of this eye in a minute. But, you know, that is one way that you can do it, and it may be, you know, useful in character makeup. It may be useful if, you know, someone has a very, very soft face and you want to add a little bit of extra structure, add some linear lines to it, then you can easily do that just by working with that inner corner of the eye, brushing it up into the brows. Next is going to be shape. Here it is. Like I said earlier, my eyes are a little bit downturned, so instead of just working with the shape, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit more of this up above the bridge of my eye, and then I'm going to bring it out so that I'm giving a nice lift to my eye. So instead of following this natural curvature down, what I've now done is I've gone up to the highest point and then brought it straight out. So can everybody see? Is that showing up? Can everybody? Yep. Okay, perfect. So now we've added a little bit of shape and we've worked with creating something that isn't going according to my bone structure, because my bone structure would have it going down. Working with structure, working with that anatomy, working with shape is saying, screw the anatomy, I'm going to create the shape that I want to with product placement. Now, next is going to be color. This is the one that gets super exciting. Now, I don't know what color I'm going to be choosing, so I am pulling a trick a la James Vincent. I have my Prism Oracle cards, and I am going to shuffle these bad boys real quick. And then we are going to choose something, and that will be the color that we are working with, because I want you to see the thought process that goes into if you have a client that wants to incorporate a certain color. It may not be your choice, but you have to work with that color. Or it may be the color that just kind of goes with the theme. A lot of times I find that whenever I'm doing fashion shows, whenever I'm doing runway, I don't really have much say. I just get to translate the vision, but if they want lime green, then by God, they're getting lime green, and I have to find a way as an artist to make it work, period. So I got yellow. So yellow, oh, the card is anxiety. I don't know what that means for the rest of this, but here we go. So I got yellow. We are going to work with yellow. So whenever I'm thinking about incorporating yellow in the eye look, there are a couple of different ways we can go according to a beautiful color theory idea. We can go with a monochromatic look. We can go with an analogous look. But if we want to make the most impact, then color theory tells us that we should go with a complementary color scheme. So we're going to do that. And what is the complement to yellow in the chat? Anybody? Purple. Yes, we are going to be working with some violet colors today, which anybody that that has worked with me closely knows that that is actually my least favorite color to work with. So this card has kind of screwed me today, but also we're going to make it work. Okay, so I am going to pull a couple of I'm going to pull out the Viseart Grand Pro 1 and 3 palettes to work with, because they just give me a whole hell of a lot of options. Okay, so we're going to be working with yellow and violet. Now, whenever I am working with my deeper color, which is violet, this gives us another opportunity to work with structure. So we get to add a little bit more structure to this soft eye situation that we have going on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a little bit of a violet aubergine situation, and I am going to just deepen that bridge. And whenever I say bridge, I just mean crease. It's what most people refer to as the crease, but again, as I explained, I hate using the term crease because it's the part that literally creases. So I tend to use the word bridge, but if anybody's confused, that's what I mean. I just mean working in that orbital bone, working with that natural structure of the eye. And I'm gonna put it up top. Gonna put a little bit down here on the bottom. And I'm gonna take a little, I'm gonna put it right here on the outermost part of my lid. Okay, bam. So now we've added some color. Doesn't look insane, doesn't look over the top, but we've added a nice little bit of color. So this might be a way to jazz up a bride that her favorite color is purple. There may be orchids as her, flower that she's using for the wedding. This is something that you can incorporate so that everything is nice and cohesive. You have a nice color theme, but you haven't gone crazy. It's not like you've spackled a bunch of glitter on her eye. We will get to that in a moment, but we're not doing it right now, and you might not do it for the bride. Now that I've created this, I'm looking at it and I actually want to do just a little bit more structure and create a little bit more of a dense shape with this. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to pick up an even deeper shade of violet, and I'm going to put that right into the occipital bone. And I'm just going to blend that out. Okay. Now I'm going to pull that up into the shape and make sure that we are sticking with what we originally kind of laid out as the map. And bam. Okay, here. Everybody see that? Nice and good. Is it showing up as purple on y'all's end? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Deep purple.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to take that brush that I used originally, and I'm going to blend everything out because blend is your friend. Okay, we're good. So there are a couple of different directions that we can go with this because we wanted to do a complementary color scheme because why? It's going to create the most drama, the most impact. However, we're going to build it up in layers. So at first, if you're wanting to go with something soft, then I would use something along the lines of one of these shades. Just very lightly put that in. It's more of a skin tone, but if it was jaundiced, like just a little bit more yellow than a skin tone would naturally be. And I would use that. However, I want to go a little bit more overboard today because why not? It's fun. So I'm actually going to take a yellow cream shadow. So, bam, nice pretty yellow cream. And I'm going to pick that up and I'm going to blend that all over the lid. And I'm going to take a little bit and put it right here underneath as well. So can everybody see that? See that yellow that I just put on? Is it showing up as yellow? So we can see that whenever we put that on, it's similar to a skin tone. It's similar to if I put on a nude shadow or if I put on like just a little bit of setting powder that I used for the client's face, but it's just a little bit more impactful. It's not over the top, it's not crazy, but it is giving you those contrasting tones so that it stands out a little bit more. Also, I'm not a big sports person, so I'm just now realizing that I created a Lakers eye. So apologies to anybody that doesn't like the Lakers, and woo-ha or whatever you say for sports ball for the people that do. So there you go. Love me or hate me. This is nice. This is pretty. I like it. But we also wanted to talk about texture. Texture is also a very, very easy way to play up an eye. Now, again, if I'm working with a client that wants something a little bit more toned down or just wants maybe a little bit of jazz to the look, I'm not going to do all of these steps for her. Do I think that this finished look is going to be bridal ready? Probably not. But again, you can choose one or two to make that work. So I'm going to take a little bit of glitter. So just a little glitter and matte shadow duo situation here. I'm going to take a little bit of glitter and apply that on top to give it some jazz. Okay, is that showing up as a glitter? Oh yeah, that's super cute. There I am. Hey me. So yeah, so that is another way to jazz up the look. Then obviously you would do your liner, do a little bit of mascara. I'm probably going to do that at the end because doing mascara and all that is super duper easy. But I want to be able to get to this other more inspirational eye situation, but I am going to do, what the hell? We'll do liner and mascara. Is that okay? Is that okay with you guys? Yeah. Okay, so bam, put on the liner. This is a very smoky situation, so I am going to smudge that out right at the lash line. Gonna work with that shape that I created, and I'm only going to do, just to keep the eyes kind of nice and smoky and keep all the dense color on the outer corner, I'm really only gonna do the liner on this outside part, and I'm gonna take it up a little into the crease and blend it out.
Devin, two quick questions while you're working.
Yes.
Emberine had asked, why a non-long wear skin tone liquid eyeshadow? Why was that the choice?
So I have found that now there is a little caveat to that. If you are super, super familiar with the full ingredients list of all of the products that you're going to be working with, if you've been using the same thing for like 10 years, number one, shame on you, expand your horizons, but also then if you understand the chemical makeup and the chemistry and the product development behind those products, then go for it. That's fine. You know, I'm not the one that's telling you what you can and can't do with your makeup and with your kit, but I have found that if I'm trying to use you know, a long wear gel liner or a long wear pencil, or I'm doing other creams and I'm layering powders and pencils on top, sometimes those long wear bases or those long wear creams as a base, the whole idea of the long wear is they have something called film formers that are volatile ingredients that evaporate, which is what causes those long wear things to be long wear. It's what makes them adhere and grab onto your skin. But they're not only grabbing onto your skin, they're grabbing onto anything that you put on top of them as well. And so sometimes I find that if the client, like me right now, my eyelids, I had to prep the hell out of my entire face to do this because I'm on Accutane. My skin is very, very dry right now. So if you have a client that has very, very dry skin and you try and put one of those on, chances are you're going to get cracking in that longwear product. You're going to get a patchy application of any powders that you put on top of that. And so using something that's a little bit more creamy is going to give you more wiggle room. It's going to give you more flexibility. And it's going to make it easier if you do have an oh shit moment, you can more easily correct it. So that's why.
And then one other question was, you know, you're working a lot right in the water line and right in the tight lining that. Is there any tip that you have for clients who have maybe a sensitivity and end up with watery eyes, or they say, oh, my eyes always water? Anything that you have as a tip of application technique?
I think that number one is, and we probably, this smoky eye situation that we did actually wound up going very quick, very easy, with no uh-ohs, but like right here, I have two different Q-tips. Q-tips are the best makeup tool besides your fingers, which now with COVID, Q-tips are the most amazing makeup tool in the entire world. So if I'm working with a client that their eyes always water, I ask them first off, where does your eye water from? Is it the inner corner or the outer corner? Because you have, most people fall into one of those two camps. Sometimes you find those weird poor bastards that they leak from both corners of their eye. But whatever it is, I will always hand them a Q-tip and I tell them, you know, they know that you're there and you can only do so much. And I say, okay, this has just turned into a group project. I need you to hold on to this, and I need you to hold it on your inner corner or your outer corner, wherever it is. Wherever you water, wherever that leaking occurs, I need you to hold the Q-tip right there while I work. I have never had anybody say that they had a problem with that. The second thing that I do is I always make sure whenever I'm working on somebody else is if I'm working in the waterline, then what I do is I will place my finger. I kind of lower the eye a little bit and I wiggle, 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 wiggle. Okay, you can blink. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. So I just do little bits at a time because if they know what's coming, if they know that there's a dut, 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 pause, dut, 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 pause, then they have more control. Chances are whenever they find that rhythm, whenever you get in sync with them and they know what's coming, then their body, their mind, they feel like they have more control in the situation. It's the same reason that you really can't tickle yourself. So if you get so in sync with them that they know you're going to do 3 little lines in the water line and then pause, their body feels in control of that motion. It feels in control of applying that eyeliner, even though they're not the ones doing it. And they tend to have less watery eyes in that situation. Plus, it's giving them a chance to blink and to relubricate their eyes as well. So those are the 2 things I do, making sure that I give them time and pull them in on the process of, I'm going to do bop, bop, bop. Okay, you can blink. Bop, 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 so that they're in it with me. And then also, if that still continues to happen, give them a Q-tip to hold in place so that it kind of soaks up any of that watering that might happen.
Those are great tips. I want to add 2 things. First of all, I want to know who else tried to tickle themselves when Devon said that, because I was like, wait, you can't tickle yourselves? I was like, I guess you can't tickle yourself. Second thing is I want to say there's a very big difference between here, hold this Q-tip right here, which is not their real job, they're the client, and Devon's charm and humor and kindness going with that ask. So just remember, they're doing you a favor, really, right? So be kind and gentle about it. And I think Devon can be like, I need you to do this. And I'd be like, whatever you need, Devon, because Devon's just charming and he's funny and he's cool. But, you have to be really conscious of that and be really conscious of language. There are some things that, depending on your energy with the client, depending on the client, just be super conscious of the methodology of asking that question. And as Devon said, he's never had a problem with that. I don't think you will either. Just being sure that you definitely have an opportunity to do that in a way that is filled with kindness. Devon can do sass, but the rest of you have to do kind. And Devon, you're just coming up on just literally on an hour right now, just so you know for time-wise.
Okay, perfect. So last but not least, I always think about the brows whenever I'm thinking about doing an eye application. Those are something that are still going to be present whenever we are wearing our masks. And so I like to think about what kind of eyebrow am I going to do? I don't do the same brow on everybody. I change it up according to their face shape, according to the rest of the makeup, which is something that I think a lot of people kind of go autopilot on. This is a big autopilot situation, is the brows, because people have a way that they do it. People have a system that they like, products that they like layering together, but they oftentimes don't think about the actual shape. So I'm going in and I'm just very lightly filling in my brows, but I want this to be more of like a sleek kind of like as Brooke Shields as I can get with my natural eye shape. Because this is more of like a glamorous kind of smoky eye situation. So I want it to have more of a glam brow.
Whose pencil is that, Devon? Whose pencil?
So this one is actually the Stila Sketch and Sculpt. It's like my little ride or die. And then I always like to set it with a little bit of my Senna Clear Brow Gel. And then bam. So here's the eye. Here is the eye look. This is what we've created for our client based on jazzing up the everyday smoky eye with structure, shape, color, and texture. Did all that make sense to everybody? Yes, we're good. Okay, I see some nodding heads. Perfect. Okay, so here comes the super fun part, because although I didn't know what color or glitter and stuff I was going to be putting on this eye, I do know how to do a smoky eye. What we're about to do, I'm not entirely sure. I kind of have been thinking about it while I've been talking to you all. So I know that we're going to be doing some organic lines. Let me find my little Cinema Secrets eyeshadow palette again. Okay, so here we go. Since I'm not really building this eye over here up, where'd my powder go? I am just going to do a little bit of setting powder on my eye, just to make sure anything I put on blends out easily. And voila. Okay, so super easy, invisible powder, can't see anything, and we're good to go. Now, let me actually move this over here. I'm gonna move my little mirror so that this eye is a little more towards the camera. So, I pulled back my little Cinema Secrets natural palette for a couple of reasons. One, it's just a go-to for me, and number two, anytime I'm working with something that I haven't done before, even whenever I'm doing like winged liner, I've done winged liner a million times, but nobody's eye is ever going to be the same as the last client that I worked on. And so winged liner is one of those things that I like to kind of sketch out with powder before I go in with a gel, before I go in with a liquid liner. I love using more skin tone shades to map things out before I go in with something a little bit more heavy duty or something long wear, because it's super easy to just take a Q-tip and remove some of it if you mess up. So I'm gonna go in, I'm just gonna do like a little medium shade right here. It's kind of a ashy brown situation. And I am going to use the technique that I learned from Miss Wendy Despinette, one of my evolution buddies. And because I want organic lines, I'm going to kind of draw inspiration from veins. She is super big into SFX, and she said that if you want to get good vein work, what you need to do is you need to have a very, very thin liner brush and just hold it at the very end so that the brush does kind of the work. Your natural shakiness and jiggliness will kind of create the organicness for you. So I'm going to I don't know if that is showing up for y'all, but it's kind of light, but I'm just going to draw okay. It went up a little bit higher than I wanted it to, and so couldn't do this if I was using liquid liner or a gel. I'm gonna go in with my Q-tip and literally just remove the part that I didn't want. Okay. Now that I have this on, I like it, but I don't really like it going under my eye. So I'm gonna remove a little bit of that. And guys, don't be scared. A lot of times whenever I'm working with artists, one thing that they're really scared to do, especially whenever they're working with a client or like a bride, is if they mess up or they do something that they don't like, they're scared to fix it, because if you fix it, then that's admitting like, oh shit, I messed up, or oh shit, I did something I didn't want to do. And they just kind of go with it and live with it and try and add more to fix the situation. Just remove it. Don't ever be scared to correct something or adjust something if you need to. I'm gonna grab a little smudgy brush because I know I'm gonna go over this with like gel liner in a little bit to crisp it up, but I think I kind of want to make this a little bit blurry. Instead of covering it with the gel, I want this to be almost like a shadow underneath it to add to the organicness of it. I don't know if that's a word. I don't know if organicness is a word, but we're using it.
Is today.
Okay. So is this showing up? Is that weird shape showing up for you guys? Okay. I'm always paranoid that certain things aren't going to show up through the camera, like, because I can see it in person. But so I'm going to go in, I'm going to add a little bit more. And now that I have that basic shape, I feel a little bit more comfortable being firm with the brush and guiding that tip exactly where I want it to go, but still being kind of loosey-goosey with it. So I'm adding more product so that I can then go in, blend it out, and create a nice shadow. Want there to be a little bit more out here. Okay, so there, I'm happy with the shape. It's nice. Maybe if I get really close, you can see it's like kind of diffused, really shadowy, and just kind of like a smoky base. Next, I'm going to go in with gel liner. Just use a little gel pot. And now I'm going to use a really, really, really itty bitty tiny brush with long bristles so that it is going to be very, very organic in its application. Because since this is going to be more crisp, it's black, so it's going to be more intense, and it is long wear. This is where I really want the organicness to happen because I can remove it if I don't like it, but it is going to be a little bit more effort. Okay. I'm happy with that. So now instead of holding it at the very end, I'm going to hold it towards the middle like I normally do. And I'm just going to intensify the shapes that I made. By adding more product. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
No, everybody's good. A couple of the line ones, but Wendy and Christina were chatting about it, so that's good.
Awesome.
That's great.
Okay, so bam. Can you all see that? See the way the lines are? Okay, perfect. So cute. Not entirely happy with it because it's cute, but I feel like there's too much on the top, and I feel like it's, even though it's a different take on kind of that like cut out hollow wing, I feel like it's something I've kind of seen before. So I want to create a base to kind of anchor it a little bit. So I could go in the waterline, but I feel like that's not going to be necessarily as organic because the waterline is, you know, it is a little bit more crisp. Okay. I am going to I'm just going to pull it on the inner corner. So it kind of looks like, to the eye, the gestalt principle of continuity, it kind of looks like this part that's going in through my eye has gone through the actual eyeball and is coming out this bottom part as opposed to following the skin. So I like that. I think I like that. We'll see when I do it. Also, I don't know if anybody else is like this, but the majority of the time when I'm doing makeup, my internal monologue is I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know if anybody else is like that, but I am usually just one hot mess hidden behind a very composed face. Okay. I like that. I think it needs to be a little more smoky, a little more shadowy. I don't like it being that far in the inner corner because it looks like it's adding darkness. So I'm just gonna go in, remove a little bit of that. The liner kind of skipped a little bit on the inside, but I like it. I'm not gonna fix it. I think it adds to that organicness. Now I'm looking at this and I like it. I like the overall shape. I'm happy with it, but I'm not completely happy with it because I feel like it does need to be jazzed up a little bit. So I am going to play around with some of those concepts we talked about earlier, and I want to add some glitter to it because, again, my gay ass loves glitter. And I am not afraid to admit it. Okay, so I don't want color to be as much of a factor, so I'm going to go with one of the Danessa Myricks, the Color Fix foils. It's in a shade called Twinkle because it's kind of like a golden graham crackery kind of color. And it's not going to really do too much to my skin color. As far as changing it, it's just gonna make it super, super sparkly and super glittery. I really hope I like the way this goes because these bad boys really stay on when you get them on, and removing this is going to be a pain in the ass if I don't like it. So fingers crossed for me. I don't like this brush that I'm using for it, so I'm going to switch. There we go. The brush I was using isn't really a fluffy brush, but I think it was a tad bit too fluffy for this formula. So I'm gonna go in, there we go. And because the lines are so organic, I'm not really gonna focus on making sure that I cover every inch or get it absolutely perfect. I just want to have some kind of a sheen in there. Sorry, I hope this isn't loud for y'all, but this takes a little bit to, if you ever need anything or have anything that you need to dry really quickly, this little bad boy is my favorite thing in the entire world.
Are you just using the Temp2 Air, just the air itself?
Yeah, just the air. Anytime, so, and actually I'm gonna use this on my brows in a second too. So the glitters, sometimes, I mean, they take a little while to dry down. That's why the glitter is so movable, but okay, there. Now it's good, doesn't feel sticky. Yay. Okay, so is that showing up on you guys' end, the like foily, shiny aspect? I like this a lot better than I did before I added it, so I'm very happy that that worked out. Although, I think I want a little bit down on the bottom too, since there's some line down there. And you know what? I want just a little bit more of an impact because it is all kind of running together, so I am gonna switch to a different glitter that's a little bit more white. A little more of like a white silver. I'm just gonna place that. Oh yeah. Woo. There we go. That's it. Okay, yeah, I like that. And again, brows for this, because it is kind of organic, I don't think doing this kind of an eyebrow on this eye look would work out well. I'm also not gonna do that weird squiggly brow shit that was happening on Instagram whenever it was. So that was like, I mean, I'm all for people being creative, but my God, that was the bane of my existence. I'm glad it was someone else's creativity is all I have to say. It wasn't mine, but I'm glad it was someone else's. Empower the youth. Where did my, boop, boop. Okay, so for this, I think I'm just gonna go with kind of a fluffy brow situation. Why not? So I'm gonna go in. I'm going to comb with the brows. Then I'm going to go in, back comb these babies. And then I'm just going to take the tip of this brow product, the one that's on it, and I'm just brushing up. These are not wanting to stay in place because they're kind of long, so I'm just going to hold it in place while I blow some air on it. Okay. I am happy with that. Okay. So just kind of nice, crazy, wild man brows. And honestly, if I wanted to do a little extra just to make them look a little bit more full, since they're brushed up, there isn't as much of a solid base to anchor and give it that perfect brow shape. Like I want them to be wild, but I still want them to be a little perfected. So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to draw a couple more hairs with the brow pen.
Which one is that, the brow pen?
So this is the Stila, the Stale Day Waterproof brow pen. It's awesome because it has like these tiny little bristles and you can create individual hair strokes with it. And it's part of the Stale Day line. So, I mean, like, this shit does not go anywhere whenever you put it on. It's a liquid stain. So instead of like being waxy and kind of messing with whatever you're putting on underneath it, it really just kind of adheres and creates those perfect lines without like spreading out or smooshing like a wax-based brow pencil would. But yeah, no, I'm happy with that. So that's my nice little gouty organic line inspired eye.
That's absolutely amazing. And one question for you, which I'd love to ask, I asked Lasagna the same question.
Yeah.
If you're creating something really creative, I know that's right, but you're using Gaudi, which is very, inspirational. There's so many things you can pull from that. Where do you know to stop? Where do you know you're done? Because there's no finish line with creative work. You really can just keep going. You could have added gold glitter. You could have added something else. You could have a feather. What for you is that thing that is about, now I'm done. This is done.
I'm glad you asked that because I'm looking at this and I realize that I'm happy with it, but I don't feel I'm done because there's nothing going on with the lashes.
That was not mentioned, by the way.
Of course, yeah. You were just like, bitch, you didn't do your lashes. No, so with me, I always kind of think back to Coco Chanel. She was like, before you go out, always take one thing off, take off the last thing you put on. So I take that idea and I try to really envision, and again, this goes back to really being a true artist, not just being a creative person. There are plenty of creative people that are not artists. There are also a lot of people that are creative that are artists, but they may not be, good artists. They may not have that restraint, or they may not have the knowledge base. And I don't necessarily mean like a product development knowledge base or anything like that, but knowing your products. You need to know your products. You need to know how they work. You need to know what they look like on, the fairest skin tone, a medium skin tone, the deepest skin tone. You need to know how your products work. You need to know what's in your kit the way that you know your best friends. And so for me, whenever I am envisioning it, like with the glitter on the inside, that could have gone horribly wrong, but I envisioned what it looked like. I didn't put a Stila glitter on this eye because I know that it's a little bit more particleized. It's a little bit more textured. The chunks are a little bit larger. And so I didn't want that. But I do know that my foils have a microfine glitter and it would give more of this sheen effect. So it all goes into me knowing if I put this product on, can I envision what that finished product will look like after I put that product on this client's lips or eyes or whatever it is. So for me, it really comes down to envisioning. It comes down to, just thinking like, if I put this on, what is it going to look like? If I put this product on based on color theory, is it going to work? Like, does the science of artistry tell me that this is going to look good or not? And so it really comes down to kind of breaking down all of those aspects, in a millisecond. It's something that takes a lot of practice. It's something that I think comes with, experience in the industry and experience working on a lot of different people. because that's how you work with different skin tones. That's how you work with different skin types and skin conditions. And so I really think that it's just about knowing your kit and knowing color theory. And if you know those two things, really, you'll know if it's going to look good or not. Not all the time. I'd say like 95% of the time, because I have had some uh-ohs. And whenever I have the uh-ohs, that's whenever a Q-tip and some makeup remover really come in handy. Did that answer the question?
Absolutely answered the question.
Okay. And I'm gonna go in. I actually don't want to do mascara on this eye, so I curled my lashes a little bit. And I am putting on, sorry, I'm not flipping you guys off. Oh, I do that all the time. I use my middle finger to apply things and I like feel like I'm being obscene. But I'm actually doing a little bit of a wax-based lip balm to apply it. Usually if you have a client that's doing like the no makeup look, I find that a wax-based lip balm, not necessarily something that's petroleum-based, but a wax-based, really does do a good job of coating those lashes, making them look mascara'd, and kind of holding them in place. Because a wax-based mascara is my favorite kind of mascara to use because it doesn't crumble, it doesn't flake, it doesn't fall all over the face. You don't have to worry about that. And so I just took that idea. I want to use a clear mascara that's wax-based. What is that? Well, that's basically just a wax-based lip balm. And so I put that on and then bam, there's my eye.
Absolutely gorgeous. And I was just going to say, Devon, as you're starting to wrap up, but it's literally 25 after, and you did it. Like, I was like, we're not going to get through all this. Thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing. I'm inspired. I know our folks are inspired. Lots of great comments in there. And I'm happy to give you the rewatch too, so you can read all those over for yourself. So you can get how happy everybody was with everything. Thank you again. I am so honored. And there may have been like 6 or 7 or 20 comments throughout the session saying, can we have more Devon? So provided that Devon is okay with us having more Devon, you know, I'm all on board. I'm all on board. Devon is amazing. You know, you've been working with Stila for how long now?
5 years.
5 years. And I think that, you know, one of the things I love about, you know, you as an educator, Devon, is you think like an artist, but you also think like a teacher. And that's a really important thing. And a lot of our, you know, we try to bring that to the forefront for our participants and really get them people who really understand how to share information. That PowerPoint alone, I think that, that was so valuable. We could have shut it down after 10 minutes. And we're like, that was it, guys. And they all would have had so much information to take away. So thank you for that. Thank you for so much creativity and so much inspiration. And I also I always want to make sure I thank our sponsors, because again, why are we here for free? We're here for free for TPG Summer School because of Cinema Secrets, Temp 2, The Makeup Light, Senna Cosmetics, Scandinavia, and Royal and Land Nickel brushes. So thank you, Devon. Thank you to our sponsors. And we appreciate you guys.